What's up, everybody? Today, I'm starting a new remix, and actually I got into this a little late because I was working on some other projects, but it's the remix competition for Deadmau5's Let Go, so I'm finally started it, so I'm just going to talk about how far I've gotten, and I'll try to keep it short and maybe cut the video so that you don't have to go through me doing every single little click and stuff. So far, here's what I did. I took all the stems, and I basically took out the vocals. Just like before, if you've been watching any of my other videos, I like doing that, taking the vocal out so I can do something else with it entirely. So I've got the rest of the stems out here, but I'm probably not going to use them. I may use little bits and pieces of it just to remind people that this is a remix. But other than that, it's gonna be it's gonna be hopefully a new song. Okay, so here are the original vocals, well, on the internet says that this is C minor. So let's see.
I know you look the other way. I know you long for something new.
Alright, so that's the vocal, and you've heard the song. It's called Let Go by Deadmau5. So basically, the first thing I wanted to do was just completely change the key, because I don't want it to be the same key, because I'll end up making similar decisions or whatnot, and it might end up sounding the same. So I wanted to just off the bat wanted to switch the key. So at work, I took a long lunch and just went through a bunch of different key changes for the vocal, just to see what worked for me. And so I kind of ended up with this. So I'm gonna show you here what I got. It's a pretty drastic change from where we're at, and yeah, so here it is.
I know you look the other way. I know you long for something new.
I felt the vocals, like the voice, was pretty natural at this place.
Looking for something that is right in front of you.
Just kind of like a relaxed little tone. So I thought that was nice. And then again, I came up with the a basic chord progression that follows that vocal. And then I realized, I guess, what I was working with. This is A flat Aeolian. That's what this is. And I kind of did something like this. So here we go. So I literally when I first began this, I started with. So I kind of started with, I think, like really simple, like something like this. And this is the chord progression that I have so far, and it's a short one. I still have to sort of figure out how to extend it and all that, but here's what it sounds like.
So that you're wasting all your days looking for something that is right in front of you. And
So I'm going to continue on forward from there. I think what I'm going to do is, instead of having you sit through the tedious process of figuring out what to do, I'm going to basically be experimenting, sort of offline, and then once I get an item in there that I think is what I want, I'll record the next clip, and I'll join them all together. So that way, it's shortest video possible. So yeah, so let's give that a try. All right.
One eternity later.
Well, here we go. And now, with the magic of digital video, a month has gone by, and magically, the entire track is in front of you. Awesome, isn't it? Well, that took a little while. I mean, I got done actually a little while back, but I just haven't had the chance to upload a video or record a video. So, doing that now. But yeah, so as you can see, I've went ahead and grouped everything together, color coded it, so that's kind of easier for me to see as I was going through the thing. It came out, I think, pretty good. I entered into the contest, and so yeah. And essentially, what I ended up doing was just using the vocal and one of the stems, a little synth that was being used in the original song, just to kind of get the flavor of the song. And so I can kind of start playing it here, see and talk about it as playing. So I start with just kind of a mangling of the synth, like the little bass synth that Deadmau5 had, and a piano.
No, you look the other way. I know you long for something new.
As you can see, I did something with the vocals here that's different.
You're wasting all your days looking for something
I'm just soloing the vocals.
in front of you.
So I have a couple things going on. I've got the low version,
Just want them to notice you.
and I have paired it with the higher version. And the way I got the higher version was actually,
I'll never let go of you.
yep, so the way I got that was because I was messing around with the actual pitch of it and also the format. So when you actually take a WAV file and you increase you transpose it, you can also go ahead and click over here and select Complex Pro and start messing around with the format and the envelope. When you do that, you get various types of different effects. So I kept sort of what I was trying to do was get the voice to be lowered, but also try to make it sound more human, right? So not just a lowered pitch voice, because if it's just lowered pitch voice from the original, it's gonna sound like like that.
I know you long for something new.
It's fine, but there's something missing there. But here we go.
So that you're wasting all your days
So now it has a little bit of a high
looking for something that
frequencies in there.
is right in front of you. And
And some interesting thing I can tell you here is I made sure that the vocal was matching the piano. I think I mentioned that before. So when I played the piano, I made sure that it was sort of going along with the vocal. At the very bottom here, I did something interesting. I plugged in. So I bought a new thing called just for this song, I guess, but I'm going to use it for other things too. A resident audio interface. I believe it's called a T2. Yeah, Thunderbolt enabled audio interface. Very nice. It's pretty low latency. So I was able to take that and then plug my guitar into it, which is I have a acoustic guitar. So with that guitar, I went ahead and I only know a few chords on the guitar, so I literally just kind of played my, the chord. I was playing an A minor, and then so I was doing A minor, and then switching to an E. So it was an A minor, and then E, A minor, then E, and then I transposed that to match the song. So I know it's kind of like an ass backwards way of doing it, but that's kind of the two chords I kind of know well. So that's kind of what I did, and I then rigged it through Guitar Rig, which is a Native Instruments kind of a thing, and I got something like this. I got a really cool pad by doing that. So check this out. This is the pad. Let's turn it up momentarily here. It's kind of interesting. I mean, if you hear it with the context of the song, check it out. I mean, sounds kind of cool.
know you look the other way.
Kind of horn-ish.
So that you're wasting all your days looking for something that is right in front of you. And I just want them to notice you. And
you also hear some of the little sound effects kind of things happening where there's a reverse piano. The way I do that, I probably have mentioned that before in one of my videos, but the easy way of doing that is when you're playing, when you have like a piano playing or some kind of thing playing that you want to sort of creep into, as you're playing it in your song, what you can do is you first reverse it and then put a reverb on it, and then you bounce that audio. So what you do is you flatten in Ableton, you flatten and you freeze and flatten, and then you reverse it once more. So again, you reverse, put a long tail reverb on there, freeze and flatten, and the reverse again. And when you do that, you get something like this. You get this sort of a so it just kind of leads the note a little bit.
I'll never let go of you.
And this is the Deadmau5 stem. That's this one. Something interesting I did here was I took the iPad app, which is the Moog Model 15 app, and I played some MIDI notes through it, and this is what I got out of it. Okay, and then I also took the Native Instruments Contact, and I just kind of went crazy in terms of pulling some ridiculous types of instrumentations or whatever the heck I could find in, and I got this. So here we go. So yeah, if you plug it all in,
something flying in the air, and I just don't know what it could be. Smoke is flying everywhere, I'm getting the feeling it's the end for you and me. And
so if you check out the drop, when this whole sort of a melodic loop, it's the same thing being played twice, but the way I make it sound different is I take the first part, I duplicate it again for the second part, but I change the first few notes so that it just kind of gives it a little bit more of a life when it's repeating. So if you do that, it's a little small trick. So if you take, let's say, if you have a few bars of melody, but you want to repeat it again, a good way to repeat it and not sound like you're repeating it is by changing the beginning of it, right? So if you can just listen to it for a second. And here's a change. That's it. The rest is the same. And I believe the last note was different. Let me check. Yep. So the front of the melody was changed a little bit, and the back of the melody was changed a little bit, just to kind of be able to repeat it again. Because the worst thing you can do is repeat that, like, one bar over and over and over and over and over again. You got to make it a little different so that the person doesn't get tired. One thing that I'm noticing in my arrangements is that I'm thinking less of, like, I'm not thinking in terms of, oh, what does a template out there tell me to do, right? Like, I'm not looking at it that way. I'm trying to constantly think, does the arrangement work? Does it run out of steam? So I always kind of try to imagine it from a listener's point of view, like, is it running out of steam? So I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything like that, but I'm saying that's what my thinking is now. So I'm actually kind of, what I've done is I've applied the same principle of, like, in the masterclass, Deadmau5 was saying that, hey, you basically sort of discover the melody by sort of kind of just brute forcing it a little bit. You just start creating it, and eventually you create a melody, and hopefully it sounds good. If not, move on to the next one. Similarly, what I kind of am moving towards is I'm looking at arrangements like the same way. So I'll start arranging, and then not spend too much time on every single part and dwelling on it for days and weeks. So, for example, once I had the drop, okay, I started to work out the intro and the transition to the build and all that kind of stuff. And when I got to the point when I needed a breakdown, I just went ahead and I think I literally just copied the intro or the transition, one of those things, and I said, okay, let me plop that here first and then change it, right? Because it's just you have to remind the user listener of the same kind of element. So it kind of works out if you just sort of reuse some of the things, but change them a bit so that it doesn't sound stale, right? So the build here is like this. This is the second. Sorry, this is the breakdown. Oh, I think I've soloed something. There you go. Here we go. Let me start a little bit earlier. And there's my guitar coming in. Very nice pad. I like it. And now you go into something different. So before we go further, I want to talk about what that was, right? So going into a breakdown and just slowing things down and kind of reminding of the intro, and then going into a build. If you haven't noticed, there's a build here in the front before the drop. There's a build here. I literally copied this build. So what's different here is this. There's a couple of things different. So check this out. I literally copied it, and you can see because I turned this off. So this was the Deadmau5 stem, right? This is the okay, that stem. It was right here. Instead of using the same thing, I could have used the same thing, right? But I don't want to. I want to do something different in this build. So what I did was I put in an instance of Diva and Serum, and so I created basically some Arpeggiator. And I did this. Check this out. Just so let me just solo these one at a time and show you how they look like. And also, I'm also using the Moog Model 15 here that comes in the middle of that to just kind of change it up a little bit. So here it is. The piano's doing its thing here and there. And the Model 15 is about to come right here with all the instrumentation. 3, 2. And when you land on this drop, it's almost like a coming back to home kind of feeling, because you've heard it before, but you heard it only for like it's like you heard it for a little while. It's like 3 chunks of it you heard before. This time you're hearing actually twice as much. So if you check this out, if I just solo that first drop. There it is. So it says length 24, and if I go all the way over here to this drop, I'm just showing you how I've increased the size of the drop this time, and the length is 40, right? So and then so there's a I kind of feel that when you show a drop in the beginning for a shorter amount of time, and then you sort of do a little bit longer amount of time towards the end, it gives a sense of conclusion. And you can do that so I'm basically taking this whole thing and then repeating the last two sets. So this is the same from here to here. That's the first drop. Okay, and then I repeated this. All right, and so the way I repeated it is I kind of made sure that the vocals came in at the right time, so it wasn't just like kind of repeat and repeat. Oh, one thing that I want to mention is there's a person who's sometimes asked for my opinion on their tracks, and one of the things that they're doing is they're repeating things a lot. That includes vocal. So when you're repeating and repeating the vocals, it just, at some point it's just like, running out of steam is one thing, but just constant repetition without any end in sight, for the user. So when the listeners are listening, they're gonna get bored of this thing repeating. So you gotta make sure that you repeat in a way that doesn't bore. So it's kind of a thing that you sort of feel out. But here's the second drop. As you can see, the vocals don't even come until the first portion of the drop is done.
Something flying in the air, and I just don't know what it could be. Smoke is
So I used in the middle of the drop, I used the pad to sort of lead on to the second portion of the drop, and there was almost like a split second kind of a slowdown when that vocal comes in. So it just gives the person like a little bit more energy to go forward. So if I just constantly repeated the whole thing without any transitions and things like that, or if there were no transitions, it just kept repeating the melody, like you'd run out of steam. So it's a minute thing, but if you can notice it here again, just pay attention to the guitar kind of swelling noise and a little bit of slowdown.
something flying.
It's subtle, but it gives you like the energy to listen to that thing again. So that's what I mean. And then of course at the end of this, it just does the same kind of pad swelling up thing, and then it goes into an outro. The outro is just like the intro. But yeah, that's the song. It's up on SoundCloud, and I'll put some links on the bottom description. If you have any questions, let me know.